Minnesota Vikings could and should be looking for the quarterback of the future beyond Kirkua, Jerome, Ezekiel Cousins. And there's a lot of talk. What about the QBs in the draft? Should they get one at 2? Will one fall into the second round? But what about the dude that's on the roster? What about the guy who's taken early in the 3rd round last year in Kellen Mond? And this is a fun thought exercise, combining draft classes. Where would he rank if the 2021 and 2022 quarterback draft classes were put together? And I think that his value would have been pushed up quite a bit because, I mean, Kellen Mond, remember, he was no slouch coming out of Texas A&M. 9,000 career passing yards, 1,600 career rushing yards, 71 passing touchdowns, 22 on the ground, 9-1 record in 2020, including an Orange Bowl win over UNC and Sam Howell, who's going to be taken this year's draft. Had one of the livest arms in the draft, great mobility as well, could run like a deer, could really get after it as a dual threat quarterback, was Senior Bowl MVP, even though Christian Ponder was Senior Bowl MVP back in the day, so I don't know. I don't know, right? But the problem was Kellen Mond was put in a class with 5 absolute studs, and that was reflected in the draft, where quarterbacks went 1, 2, 3, Lawrence, Wilson, Lance, and then also you had Fields going 11 and Mac Jones 15. So you had 5 quarterbacks in the top 15, which simply is not going to happen this year. I wouldn't be shocked if there's no quarterbacks taken in the top 10. So it could be part circumstance where, hey, if you put Kellen Mond in this year's draft class, he probably goes pretty high. Maybe he even ends up being a first-round pick because the demand for quarterbacks will always be there no matter what the supply is. And last year, there was a lot of supply of great quarterbacks, so his value got depressed to the top end of the 3rd round. So it could be this, could be that, the other thing, but the Vikings do have a talent in Kellen Mond, and we want to rank, if you combine the 2021 and 2022 quarterback classes, where would everyone rank, and especially Kellen Mond. So let's do this. All right. So we're going to start up at the top. Let's take everyone off the board. This was no particular order, by the way. So, yeah, Trevor Lawrence is going to be 1, even though he struggled as a rookie. Oh, Davis Mills outperformed him as a rookie. Yes. Yeah, but there's a lot of issues going on in Jacksonville. Trevor Lawrence is still seen as a generational talent. Now, protect his ass and see what he can do. Go ahead. Zach Wilson was a guy coming out of BYU who caught on like wildfire, even though his first season didn't go great with the Jets. I think that there's was moments of brilliance. He would still be clearly quarterback 2 in my book. And, given... actually, let's pull... there we go. So take a look at the 2022 class. I like Willis. I like Pickett. I like Corral. I like Strong. I like Howell. I like Ritter. I don't think that there's any of these dudes who would crack the top 5 of the quarterbacks from last year's class. I just don't. I don't see them in that mold. I see all of them as potential starters down the line, as opposed to, well, I see 4 of them as potential starters down the line, some of them as high-end backups. But do I really see any guys that you're just going to start right away, a la a bunch of the dudes in the last year's class? No, and even a bunch of dudes in last year's class didn't start right away. Like Trey Lance didn't get the time of day with the Niners. Justin Fields was on and off with the Bears last year, even though I still put both of them head and shoulders above the quarterbacks in this year's class. So let's keep going. All right, so I got Lawrence at 1, Zach Wilson at 2. What am I to do here? I really like Trey Lance. I did, even though he had the year off in 2020. Well, they had the one jabroni spring game, but that's whatever there. I think that his size, I think that his arm strength and mobility, I think that he definitely is a bit of a wild card, but I think his ceiling was extremely high. So that's why the Niners moved up and traded heaven and earth to go get him at 3, even though he played like 6 snaps this year. Nah, it was more than that, but whatever. Next up, so I really did like Mac Jones. And I liked Mac Jones ahead of Justin Fields because Mac Jones, even though he was surrounded by a ton of talent at Alabama, I mean, so was Justin Fields at Ohio State, man. But Mac Jones, I saw as this young point guard who was a great distributor, and then it really was akin to Tom Brady, even though the whole Patriots thing, I had this comparison even before he was taken by Belichick and the Patriots. Like, hey, this is a guy that can be a distributor at first, and then eventually he will have that killer instinct, and then he will be that dominating 2 guard. So going after it, Mac Jones, I would have it 4. Fields at 5, where... the physical skills upside, yes. Yeah. The questions we had about Fields in the draft, and a lot of people had about Fields, is the same thing that's panning out in Chicago, where he needs the perfect offensive line. He needs great protection. Otherwise, some pressure gets to him. And quarterbacks, whenever they're pressured, they make mistakes. But Fields drop off from when he's protected to when he's not protected. It's much starker than a lot of other quarterbacks. So that's why he will be low. And then what do you do next? Where Kellen Mond for me was firmly 6 out of 6. You know, I'm not going to lie and do revisionist history and say that he was, 3 or 4 like Chris Sims, ranked Kellen Mond. But where would you put Kellen Mond in terms of the other jabronis in this class? So in terms of quarterbacks, we really do like betting on potential. And for me, Malik Willis is just that guy at Liberty where there's just something special about him where this is a lazy cop-out when it comes to scouting, but some guys just have the it factor. Like when they're on the field, can they make plays? Do their teammates believe in them? And that's something that you can't quantify. Like you can't magic a hat in a player. And I think Malik Willis has that. He's got great tools. I think that he could potentially be a Russell Wilson 2.0 type player with some solid mobility as well as a hell of a live arm. I think that Willis needs to go to a spot where he can sit for a year. Maybe New Orleans could be a potential compromise because if they roll Taysom Hill as the primary starter and then work Malik Willis in, that would make sense. I think that Willis going straight up to Pittsburgh, where he'd have to start from day one, I don't think that would be a great spot for him, but yeah, is what it is there. So I would have Willis above Kellen Mond. Would I put anyone else in this class above Kellen Mond or Trask or Davis Mills? Where I like Davis Mills, but he only played like a handful of games at Stanford, so there wasn't much to go off of. The physical traits were there. The Texans got him, and he was thrust into action and did pretty damn well. But we're not going to revise history and say that, oh, we had Davis Mills as a top 3 quarterback, please. Not Strong, not Corral, not Howell, not Desmond Ritter. It's pretty close. Like you could flip a coin. I really do like Kenny Pickett. His 1-year wonder status does have some question marks. No, I don't think that everyone who was sort of whatever in college and then has one breakout year is going to be Joe Burrow. There is some questions about the hand size, but like we've talked about here, I think the double jointedness does give a little bit of credence where, hey, his hand literally can bend open farther than other people so it's not the standard 8.5 inch size hand. So that's whatever there. But you like the moxie, you like the leadership. I think he does need to go to a either warm weather or inside team. So the Saints would make a lot of sense for Kenny Pickett. I would put Kellen Mond above Kenny Pickett because the 1-year wonder status as well as the hand, I think that was just enough question marks for me where I would put Kellen Mond, who was a 4-year starter at Texas A&M, broke all the school records, a lot of them owned by Jared Johnson, who's now the Vikings assistant quarterbacks coach. So I would put Kellen Mond above Kenny Pickett. So he would be quarterback 2 for me in this class. And you could even make a case that he would be quarterback 1 above Malik Willis, who, small school, again, he started at Auburn, transferred to Liberty, so small school caliber competition, developmental upside. I mean, Kellen Mond, he's got a hose, he's got size, he's got mobility. So, I mean, could you make a case that Kellen Mond would be quarterback 1 in this class? Might be a little bit too bold, but he's at minimum top 3, and I don't think he's 3. All right, so let's just finish out the rest of these rankings. Let's see. So Desmond Ritter was a guy that if he declared last year, I liked him on the same tier as a Davis Mills as well as Kellen Mond. I would have been fine. If Ritter declared and the Vikings got him at 66, would have been absolutely fine. I think that the kid is a hell of a leader. I love his background, love his character. He doesn't have the arm upside like a Kellen Mond, but also it's not like he's throwing noodles out there either. Great mobility, great size. He just, even though Cincy on the field, they took a leap up and made the college football playoff. I don't think Ritter, in terms of his draft status, really made headway one way or the other. I think that he's still going to be a mid-day 2 type guy. But for me, I would put him as quarterback 3 in this class. And then, well, let's get this out of the way. I'll put, Kyle Trask is at the bottom for me. He's at 14. Davis Mills, again, like I mentioned, I like Davis Mills in the same tier and strata of a Mond, of a Ritter, so we're going to put him there. And then, how do I rank the last guys here? So I do like Sam Howell. I've had reservations about him. We've compared him to Christian Ponder 2.0, except that's probably a lazy comparison. I do like Howell as a leader, but UNC had a very clear step back this year after they lost a bunch of their key skill position players. And Howell, I mean, he fought through injury, he fought through marginal play around him, but is he a guy that can carry a team, or is he a guy that needs a lot of help around him and then they can do some things? I don't know. I don't really know at this point. And then, yeah, there you go. So we'll put Carson Strong in at 12, where he's got a freaking cannon, man. He's got a freaking howitzer, and he's got a live arm talent. He's up there. Not quite Josh Allen, but we're talking about in the same neighborhood. The problem is Carson Strong literally cannot move. He might be the slowest quarterback in, I don't know, last 5 years of the draft. And also he has that knee injury, which is it degenerative? Is it a problem? Yeah. So you have a stationary target with a big arm. It really is a Drew Bledsoe type situation where you need to surround him with a great offensive line. Carson Strong, frankly, would do fantastic in Tampa Bay, where Bruce Arians, no risk it, no biscuit, wants to chuck it deep. They have a good offensive line, so that would make a lot of sense. Like if the Bucs at the back end of the first round or maneuvered in the second round to take Carson Strong would make a lot of sense because you could see, Kyle Trask is sort of in the mold of the quarterbacks that Bruce Arians like. Think about the Carson Palmer type QB, but Carson Strong is a better version of Kyle Trask. There you go. And then Matt Corral, I put in at 13, where I do like Matt Corral. I do love the moxie. I do like the leadership. A lot of questions coming in from Ole Miss's RPO heavy style of offense, but that is trickling up to the NFL. But can he run a traditional NFL offense, or are you going to build your offense around Matt Corral? I mean, there's a lot of question marks there, so I understand why. Again, all it takes is one team to believe in him. Like, hell, maybe Denver is ready to buy into Matt Corral and completely remake their offense if they don't trade for Russ or Aaron Rodgers or Kirk Cousins, and then they'll take him at 9 and then jump at George Payton and Nathaniel Hackett and be like, all right, so we're all in a Matt Corral. It's possible. And again, this is hypothetical, but say the Broncos might be the only team with the first round grade on Matt Corral, and if the Broncos don't take him at 9, maybe he free falls deep into the second round. That's how subjective and fun and crazy the draft can be, man. So this is how we would rank the quarterbacks if you combine this year and last year's draft class. Kellen Mond, for us, he would check in at quarterback too, and he would probably be a first-round pick because, like we said, the demand for quarterbacks is inelastic. It will always be there, despite what the supply is. Last year, there was a big supply of quarterbacks. This year, maybe not so much. Maybe not so much. Like last year, there was blue chip quarterbacks. This year, it's more penny stocks. You're going to take a chance on a guy. I don't know if any of these guys would be day one starters, just set it and forget it, but guys that you could develop into that dude. And that's what the Vikings have currently on the roster. So I understand you want poo-poo Kellen Mond because, Zimmer sees him practice every day. Noted quarterback whisperer Mike Zimmer. Or he almost threw a pick against the Packers, so he must suck. No, that's why give this kid a chance. I still believe that Kellen Mond could be that guy. I'm not ready to say that he will be, but he could be that guy long term. But that's it. Let's take a look at combining the draft classes of quarterbacks for the last 2 years, where Kellen Mond would stack up. For us, he would be QB2 in the 2022 class. 2. You know what I mean? But let's know your thoughts in the comment section below. Subscribe for daily Vikings takes. Want to support the work? Put a little something in the Venmo. But until next time, Skol, production value.